So we are in round 8 of the World Blitz Championship, and so far in 24 games nobody has managed to beat Viswanathan. He was undefeated in 15 games in the Rapid tournament. He played 2 tiebreak games, won them both, and now 7 rounds in the Blitz, 24 games without a loss. And now he's playing against his longtime rival. Well, we can say that now. They have played 2 World Championship matches, and Viswanathan against Magnus Carlsen doesn't get much bigger. A crucial game for this tournament, as it was in the Rapid, and let's see what happened. Anand opened with e4, and Carlsen went with knight c6, something he has been doing in quite a few games in the Rapid and Blitz now. So this is the Nimzovitch Defence, and he played this, for instance, against Magnus, a game that I think I have here on my channel. But here we saw d6, so he's not playing it in a standard Nimzovitch type way. That would involve playing d5 at some point. Black can also transpose the normal lines by simply playing d5, but he goes with d6. After d4 and knight f6, he invites this move d5, which Anand plays. After d5, the knight has to go back to b8. So a little bit of provocation. The knight is played to c6 and then right back to a b8, losing a tempo, but on the other hand, maybe not the most useful tempo. I mean, this pawn is far advanced, but black has opened the diagonal on g7, and if white doesn't play powerfully, black will be okay. So let's see what happened. Knight c3, he fianchettos his bishop, that's the most natural. Bishop e2, bishop to g7 from Carlsen. Castles and castles. Rook e1, and now c6, striking back at this pawn here. Bishop f4, and is going with a central strategy. His bishop out, most likely the queen is coming and the rook on the central file. Very classical play. And here Carlsen goes with b5. So he wants to expand on the queen side, and Anand went with a3. Taking here, black will flick in. He will not take on c6 as b5 will hang, so he will flick in b4. We will see a knight move, and then Carlsen will take on c6, and his position actually looks quite okay. The bishop will come to b7. He will expand with a5, and yes, moves like knight d7, opening up for a bishop. So should be quite okay for black. Instead, Anand went with a3, stopping this b4 advance, but this also allows a6. So now black can immediately take on c6 if Anand were to take. Queen d2 and bishop e7. So he allows bishop h6, exchanging off the fianchetted bishop, but Anand just keeps with the central strategy, plays rook a to d1, knight b to d7 by Carlsen, more or less finishing development. D takes c6 and b takes c6. So now we sort of have a Sicilian pawn structure. You can imagine this arising after a Sicilian, sort of like a Dragendorf structure. And to be honest, white doesn't look to have the most threatening setup against that, but white is still very solid. He plays e5, liquidating the center, but this also means that black really shouldn't have any big problems, because one of the main breaks for black in Sicilian structures is to play d5 to exchange the d pawn for the e pawn. So that's what happens here through e5, and after a further exchange here and rook d8, black shouldn't really have any problems. He has an extra central pawn and no weaknesses to speak of. So we saw a rook exchange. Anand offered the trade of rooks, but Carlsen prefers to keep one pair of rooks on the board to be able to perhaps cook up some pressure on the queen side and maybe on the c file. Knight a2 by Anand wants to put this knight perhaps on b4. Bishop b7, c3, shoring up the queen side. Now there's no more pressure on the c2 pawn. Knight e8, offering the trade, which Anand declines with bishop g3. His reasoning is most likely that, well, with this bishop being blunted here by these pawns, that he wants to keep this bishop, hoping that it will be a good bishop. Knight f6, bishop back to e5, but now Anand changes his mind and takes on g7. But the difference here, however, is that white can win a pawn with rook d7, and that's exactly what Anand did. But this does allow some counterplay. Knight c5, attacks the rook, protects the bishop. Anand takes the pawn, and now king f6. This rook must move, and now rook d8. Going to the open file, and this rook wants to come to d2 and attack this pawn. Anand plays c4. Carlsen took, and now rook d1 check. Anand has to interpose, and now rook d2. Is Anand managing to consolidate? He's up a pawn here, and after rook to e2, I mean, black is not winning the pawn back immediately. He plays rook d1 to at least pin the bishop. We see knight c3 attacking the rook. He stays on the first rank, and now f3 by Anand. Black was thinking about a5 and bishop a6. So f3 looks like a good move. But on the other hand, what can you do after a5? King f2, unpinning the bishop, and now bishop a6. Now with the rook attacked, you have to go to the first rank. But now rook c2, and I win your b2 pawn. So black is back in the game. He won the pawn back. Takes on f1 first, of course. There's another Zug, knight d5. And then finally he takes the pawn on g7. But now, yeah, things should be equal. I mean, black has a slightly further advanced a pawn, and perhaps one would say that black has a theoretical edge, but it's a very tiny one. Rook c1, knight d3, rook to c3, and now Carlsen plays knight to e1. This attacks g2, very tricky. Knight d3 very quickly, and rook e2, and now things happened fast. f4 was played, h5, h3 and h4, and here Anand almost took the pawn, but he didn't. He played king g4. Now what happens if he takes the pawn? Why did he change his mind? Well, there's rook takes e3, and this would have lost the game because rook takes e3, knight takes g2. It's a big fork, winning the rook back, and black is up a piece. So Anand managed to avoid that. He played king to g4, and after that we had f5 check, king g5, king f7 after some hesitation, and here Anand was almost flagged, but in the nick of time won, almost flagged. He played a4, and after these exchanges, king takes h4, they agreed to a draw, and well, it's a completely dead drawn position, nothing else to do really. And if we take a quick look, there's a cool theme here. After king takes a4, let's say the king moves, white can simply give checks here, and the reason for that is once you play rook c5, king takes g5, it's actually stalemate. So very hard for black to make any progress here. The king is completely stalemated. Yeah, just some quick demonstration of some ideas, but wasn't really important. The rook endgame is completely drawn anyway, so naturally these two great masters and our last two world champions and current rapid world champions, they agreed to a draw.